Oh, Julie, I am so excited you're here. I am just in love with the work that you are doing in the world with your podcast. For listeners who've never tuned in, it is called You-est You, and it's incredible. And I just love following you on your journey and just the expansion and the big way that you are of service in the world. So it is just such a gift and a blessing and an honor. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, it's mutual. I adore you. I love what you're up to, and I'm so honored to be here that you asked me. I'm so excited. I know we have a lot of deep topics to get into, and I'm grateful to be part of your world and what you're doing in your light, Julie.
Thank you. Yeah. You know, you have such an incredible platform and you've created such a beautiful community. And it's really centered around a topic that I just love, which is discovering and bringing forward your most authentic, fullest self. And of course, you call this your You-est You, which I absolutely love. And so I'd love to start just by asking you what makes you your You-est You?
Oh, that is a good one, and I'll say that I did a lot of time not feeling like what I would say my meest me. So I can say a lot of what that isn't is when I spent a lot of time in that zone of people pleasing, of the not good enough, not listening to my inner voice, and I really through a lot of the tougher times, the darker moments. I'm grateful for today, all of those. They were not easy and they still can come up. But for me, the learning was, really honoring and listening and tuning into my inner wisdom, to my, what I would say, my higher self. I believe we all have that. And so for me, it's following that, my heart, my passion, what's true for me, and doing that in a way, for me, my core values, being kind, right? Compassionate, kindness, love, and integrity. So when I'm in that space of in integrity and being loving and kind and compassion, probably what I've learned is with myself first, right? Because the more we do that with ourselves, the more we can do that with others. That really, for me, it sounds kind of simplistic, but that helps to really guide me in everything I'm doing. And so, you know, leaving a marriage, leaving a day job, all of those things, I realized they don't define me, but those were, you know, steps that I needed to take to really feel like I was being fully self-expressed. To me, that you is to you concept, it's about authenticity. It's about full self-expression. And it's about honoring that in others too. And I would say, holding that space of curiosity and non-judgment, which is a lot of why I went into coaching because it's something I think many of us need to learn or remember. So that's a great question. I don't even know if I really answered it, but I would say my inner guidance today really, really kind of is the compass that helps me. If something doesn't feel right, I don't do it. If it does feel right, if my body's leaning in, then I take action. And I really use that as a gauge. So like when you reached out, I was like, oh, hell yes. So to me, it's really what's that heck yes and what's not. And being okay when something is different than what others think or feel or see, and being able to stay in that lane of, we trusting ourselves.
Mm, yes. Julie, I love that so much. And I love how you just share so authentically, so vulnerably. And, I think for me, like when I hear you share, it's like, yes, I can relate to moments where I really haven't felt like my me is me. And it's like that comparison of, not feeling like that, but knowing that there's so much more that you're desiring to express is that motivation, that inspiration to like really allow yourself. And it's a journey and it's a process. I feel like, at least it has been in my experience, to really become, and it's ongoing and it's ongoing, but to still, bring that forward and to feel comfortable expressing, to follow your highest truth and your highest excitement. So I love for listeners to be able to know a little bit more about your journey.
Yeah, it's interesting. I would just say this, just in the thing that's so funny about being so vulnerable and open is it's like the last thing I thought I would ever be doing is sharing kind of so openly because for me, a lot of where I even got into this self-excavation work was really through I came through the doors of 12 steps and addiction. I, come by it naturally. There's quite a bit of addiction in my family, mainly actually around, who knew that food, sugar can be a drug, but it certainly can. I always joke, you don't get pulled over from necessarily eating a 6-pound bag of M&Ms, but I was crazy when I, I had a moment in May of 2003 where everything looked fine. Like it looked fine. I was married at the time. I was in a, good job. I happened to smile a lot. Like I don't even notice, so it all looked good. Inside, I felt like a effing mess and I could not stop, that sugar rush that it sugar coated everything. Sorry, that just came to me. It's so cheesy, but it's true. It like sugar coated my feelings, my emotions. I didn't want to deal with them. I didn't know how to. I had grown up with a father with PTSD and bipolar and depression. And I, very loving, but like I didn't realize the implications of that. And then my own stuff, and I just pushed it down with sugar. And so for me, that pivotal moment was, and I've talked about this very openly. I had my hand in a huge bag of M&Ms, like Costco size, big 6-pound, like couldn't stop eating them. And I remember there was a support group meeting that a therapist friend had said, you might want to check this out. And I really was like, my brain, this is why we've got to be careful believing our thoughts, but my thought was, I should just drive into the tree in front of me because then it will be over, which still like, I'm holding back, like there's tears in my eyes. I say that I'm like, holy crap, I really remember that moment. And it was like May of 2003. And I, something inside my inner guidance, my higher self, the divine, whatever you call it, was like, no, if you get to this meeting, your whole life will change for the better. And I say that was the moment I decided, thank God, to listen to that part of me that I believe is, we all have that inner guidance. And I got myself to a meeting and it did change my whole life. And it was not easy. And I've done a lot of other modalities, actually, in addition to 12 steps coaching and therapy and other kinds of healing that I love. But that's the beginning of it. Excavation. I don't know what else to say, but when you start peeling back things that you shoved down, we have cellular memory, we have memory in our emotional memory. And I just started, surrendering and looking at, I'm willing to feel to heal. And I
Mm,
think that changed the whole trajectory. And it did lead to some big changes. I really got to know myself and realized, 2 kids under the age of 2, I was married to a really good person, but it was not the right fit. That was one of the hardest things I've had to do, leaving a really cushy job as a single mom, yet following that inner guidance, had a mini health crisis, which is since doing really well. And I had to really tune in. And so starting a business from like nothing, Emily, I mean, like nothing. I started from zero, and just that desire. So for me, it really, that self-excavation, learning to love myself, have compassion, I got so on fire about it because my whole life changed and I saw, my gosh, everyone has struggles and hurts, but they don't have to define you. In fact, they can literally shape what's next and help you to serve at a bigger level with others who struggled with those issues. So that's part of what helped me to even, I worked with a coach that changed my life. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've got to do this. I mean, I didn't even know that they had such a thing. I went back to get a certification. It turns out I got a master's degree in coaching. I fell in love with this work. And I mean, I loved it so much. I was like, I'm going to leave my benefits, my bonus, my paycheck to do this. And it's just, it's changed my life. And I see how it can change others when you really, really look from a place of love, compassion, and surrender, and curiosity.
mm. I'm just like, there is so much in your story that first I can relate to personally, and then second, that is so inspiring to me. I mean, I just look at you and you've accomplished so much. You know, you've written books and you have, such an incredible presence and you interview just these amazing luminaries around the world, but I think what really, really I connect with the most is that journey of overcoming fear and finding the confidence to go for your biggest dreams. And I know that's something that I get questions around, I'm sure you do as well, is like, how do you overcome fear? How do you really find that confidence when you don't feel confident? So I'd love for you to share maybe some tips that you have that have helped you on your journey.
Yeah, I love this question. I think I get a lot of visuals. I'm seeing like kind of a three-pronged approach, right? So there's kind of a greater spiritual slant to this. So I would say that taking the action with the fear. And then there's like the being inspired by others. So I'll start with the spiritual piece. I think it's hard to separate out because I think, we're all, in my humble opinion, number one, we're all here on this fascinating journey to like learn and grow. And I do believe, and I don't really know how it happens, but our souls choose our lifetime and the journey. And I think of it as we all have these, you can call them contracts, or, I think of myself as an emissary or um, somebody that's trying to make a big impact. And I would say anyone, obviously, that I think we all have that, but certainly anyone's listening, it's just like attracts like. Clearly, if you're listening, you have this, right? And on a spiritual level, like when you really get, there is no such thing as not being worthy, right? No one, worthiness is inherent just by being alive. I've actually learned this in having a stepdaughter with special needs. I've really had to look up, like, this is somebody who is not functioning like a typical normally developing person. And then it's so clear she's worthy. She's worthy because she's here. And I've learned that worthiness, um, that's a given. So if that's something that's coming up for you, you got to really look at that and get straight and flat about you're worthy because you're here. So let's like put that to bed.
Mm,
You're worthy. And then, when spiritually, for me, what's helped and what I've seen is when you get that it's not about you, that it's about you and it's not about you, right? Like we're all connected. We really are. I mean, there's like, science about the field and intelligence, and we're connected. Quantum physics shows this. So it's about me and it's not. And I'm here to really tap into, it's like you're here to tap into what is your highest purpose. What do you want to be, do, and have, and how do you want to help others? And so I think that leads right into, we know that we're worthy. You don't have a roadmap really, but we do have inner guidance. We do have
mm,
inner guidance, intuition. We all have it in different ways. It's something that I've been studying, that I have seen, I really think is a superpower. So it might be a gut feeling, it might be a sense, it might be you get goosebumps, you get nauseous, you're leaning in. I mean, there's so many ways to tap into your body wisdom and your inner wisdom. I think the second component is getting really clear about your purpose and your why. This is more of that. What do you need to do to, you got to get your why. Simon Sinek obviously had the brilliant Start With Why
mm,
book and TED Talk. You've got to get so married to your why that it's going to outshine the fear. And that's what happened with me. It wasn't even I'm going to do this. It was like, oh, no, no, I'm not letting, especially other women who have not taken their voice, go through this with their thyroid, with their health, with their body image, with their relationship. Like, I'm not going to watch that, what I went through, and not be there to be of support. I'm just not going to do it. Like, I'm
mm,
stepping in. So your why has to be huge. So that the third piece is, I would say the why has to be huge so that you're going to have fear. Imposter syndrome might come up. It's like, just assume it's going to be there. Just bring it in your cute bag. It's going to come with you. Make
yeah.
your why bigger. I think the third and last piece is getting inspired. And this can be something, I don't know how you feel, Emily, but there's a lot of people doing amazing things out there. And it's very easy to get into, oh my God, am I as good as her? Competing or jealousy. Jealousy really is, to me, it's just shining a light. There's a desire, and that desire, there's something for you to look at. And I love that. Like, okay, how can I get inspired though? Because that's a different energy. So I think that third piece is find people that are doing what you're doing not to be them, but just get inspired, because your genius will follow. It can't not. It's here to express. Long-winded
Yes.
answer.
Yes, I love all of those tips. Like, we are innately worthy,
Yeah.
and to find and revisit the why is so important, so valuable. And, it's interesting because I was just thinking the other day, one of the things that I think stops momentum the fastest, if you're an entrepreneur, you're anybody that's really following their big dreams, is the comparison. It instantly, just deflates the momentum. And so I love that you share that about really shifting it to inspiration, because there's a reason why you're even attracted to whoever that you're looking at, is because there's something about what they're doing that inspires you, that you see yourself. We're all mirrors for one another. So you see yourself in that person. And so to have that as a constant reminder is so valuable.
Yeah, I think what you just said was way more eloquent, and what I was definitely trying to say, which is it's kind of that if you spot it, you've got it, right? Like what you're
Yes.
seeking is seeking you, which is my favorite Rumi quote. And it's a much more empowering context to come from. It's also, if we're all these unique individuated expressions of something infinite and greater, truthfully, I don't want to be anybody else. You don't want to really be somebody else. You might see their impact, their ability to make a big difference, their lifestyle. There might be things that are like, oh, I would love to be able to do that. It's like if there's a trigger, right? There's a trigger for a reason. It's the same thing. If you are noticing that, I really look at it as your soul knows that is something very similar for you. You wouldn't be seeing it and feeling that if it wasn't already in that experience that you came here to have. So I love how you said it. It is a mirror, and it's a
Yeah.
big reframe that has helped me, because I've had times like, it can be very easy, especially in social media. And I'm
Mhm.
careful in social media. I also like cultivating the people that I really feel aligned with energetically. But just really getting, also we're getting a snapshot of someone. They're not getting their whole life, clearly. But what you're seeing, I always think like if that impact or that speaking or the book or the podcast, whatever they're doing, if there's a like, oh, I want to do that, it's probably because somewhere you can do that. You're supposed to, there's a part of you that knows that that's part of your self-expression.
Yes, 1000%. And I have tears in my eyes because as you're sharing, it's like it's something that you said. It was like you really don't want to be anybody else but you when you're really being your U.S. you. And I think that that's the key, is like when you're able to fully express yourself and let that, creativity flow through, to trust your intuition. It's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I'm loving this. And so I'd love to just dive in and explore, because I feel like for listeners, there's this desire, like I know it's in there. I know that there's a, bigness that I want to express, but how do I get in touch with, my meest me? And, and what do you think, Julie, like what do you think is, happens to us if maybe we're not fully expressing that, like from a health perspective or from just any perspective?
Yeah, it's super important question. And I've experienced not being in that space. So I can tell you what I've seen, and then just others that I've worked with or that I've gotten to know. I look, we know that we're made of energy. Literally, our bodies are, we live in a world that is particles. While they don't look like they're moving, we are made of this energy. And you know, we have this emotional scale, which I believe it's David Hawkins who created in the Power versus Force book, or if you're into Abraham Hicks, they have the emotional guidance scale. So what can happen is if you're constantly either repressing your voice or not to be scared of it, but if you're noticing your emotions, feel like you're not, I liked my job, but I didn't love it. I did not have a lot of energy at the end of the day. I felt um, kind of sad at times. Like there was I would even say despair at times, even though there was nothing wrong. You really want to notice your emotions. We're emotional beings first. This is scientific. And I used to think like, well, emotions after thinking, no, we're actually emotional beings first. And so
Mm,
using those as a guide. And what I believe is, if those emotions persist and we're not moving through them and looking at them and coming up against them and seeing what they're here to tell us, what the gift is, what the message is. I mean, I can tell you right now, for years of being in a relationship where I did not feel I spoke up and had a voice, and I don't blame him. That's just kind of was my path, and I certainly, took that. I took that way of being. But I'll
mm.
tell you, when I, in my early 30s, passed out in a Target for no reason, actually out in West Palm, in Florida,
Oh, wow.
and I'm surrounded by EMT, and I remember thinking, like, what the heck just happened? I knew I ended up going to the doctor, got to a hospital. It was my thyroid stopped working. Well, what is your thyroid? Where is that? I mean, I believe everything is connected. It's, first of all, the gland looks like a butterfly, which is fascinating. It's also on your throat. And immediately my body said, that is your throat chakra, your energy around your throat. You have not been speaking up and you haven't been speaking your truth. You've been repressing it. And
Mm,
I believe our body is giving us messages all the time. It's, are you listening? Are you paying attention? So I definitely think there's a definite connection. We know this too, mind body science, that the connection, epigenetics, your beliefs, your thoughts. Dr. Bruce Lipton, who I've interviewed, talks about this. I learned in school it was 90%. He actually, I believe it's 99%, meaning you could have genetic coding for certain illnesses. And depending on the way you're doing your life and lifestyle, it's like a 99% chance, that won't be expressed if you are really loving up on your body and listening and processing emotions. So,
mm. Wow.
this is important work. And I think that looking to see, where am I not being fully my meest me? Because I mean, I've lived it where recently I had a lower back issue. I'll just share really quickly. It was really upsetting in February of this year. I was really overdoing it with, I think, being in for 2 years. I'm like, I'm going to get back in shape. And I was doing these bar classes every day and I was using weights and I did something and I ended up, it was a herniated back disc
Mm,
situation, not very fun, couldn't really move. And I just remember walking around putting my hand on my heart and I just said, what the heck is going on? I asked my spine. I literally said, like, what spine, what is going on? And what I heard immediately was, stop putting so much pressure on me. And I was like, whoa, okay, I got to look at how I'm doing everything. I didn't even know I was doing this. And I changed everything. I'm like, 'cause at this point in my life, when I get a note from my body, I'm like, got you. I love you. I'm shifting whatever
yeah.
you need and want. So it's worthwhile to pay attention, to listen, and to love up on whatever those messages are. It's not always easy. I think I went off track, but hopefully
Oh
that
my
is.
gosh. Yeah. Well, I'm just like, yep, uh-huh, uh-huh. Because, it took me personally, like learning the hard way, like you shared. It's like ignoring or like, oh, something doesn't feel right, or my body like is giving me just these really strong messages that something is wrong, but I'm not sure what it is, and ignoring those subtle cues. And now it's like, oh, nope, we're totally on board. We're going to listen to those because those are really gifts, and I feel like sometimes we'll just get these clues when it comes to our calling or where our soul is guiding us to go. And if if it's not really on the path, we might feel depressed. We might feel like there's just the sadness, and so all of those are really, really clues for us or gifts for us to really tune in. So I love that you shared that.
Yeah, I think, just to add to what you're saying, absolutely. Like, those emotions can be indications of, especially when you have this feeling like, I know there's something I want to be doing and I'm not.
Yeah.
And I remember this feeling of, I had done this program where I was coaching people's before I got my master's degree. And I'm like, I love this. I love this. People are having miracles. Like, if I'm going into work, I'm in an HR, it's fine, but this is not the same like realm of energy. And I just started feeling like exhausted at work. Right. And then, I had this thyroid thing that really flared up, and I just started to pay attention. I'm like, something like so going back to following your purpose, following, even if there's fear, what I would say is, once you decide to listen, it's like, it's that great quote. I'm really messing it up, where the providences move, like the divine is with you. There's a greater power that is going to lead the way and help you. I've seen this in my life over and over. I actually track a lot of it because my analytical mind is like, you crazy girl, like you're doing this again, you're leaving this, you're going to stop this, you're going to try for this, you're going to, like, what are you thinking? You're going to invest in this, like what? And I just keep looking at this evidence, like, no, I'm supported. There's a higher power here that's do life anymore, or again, where I'm pushing that down and living in that despair. And when that has come up, I really, you got to look at it, like with my back or whatever it is. That's part of, I think, learning to trust yourself as well, which, it's also part of the reason, whether it's a coach or accountability person, it is important to have somebody else that is listening and reflecting.
Mm.
It just adds a whole different dynamic. And this is something to start with yourself, just to notice, what do I really like? What is it I would really love to do? Um, I don't know if you've read The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. I love this book.
Yes, love it.
It's kind of, are you in your zone of excellence or competency, or are you in your zone of genius? I guess my belief is we came here to take the leap and to enter in our zone of genius. I think our planet will be a whole different kind of place when the majority of us are in our zone of genius. That's kind of what I believe.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I feel like this is the important key, at least in my experience, is that, taking that big leap is going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel awkward. It's going to feel like you're really pushing past your edge of your comfort zone. And so I love that you track that. So many valuable tools that you're sharing, but I love first that you track that, because I feel like that's where confidence comes in, is when okay, I've done this before, I survived, and in fact, it was highly rewarding, and I felt really proud of myself. I felt inspired, I felt lit up. All these things are so helpful. And then also to have a mirror, to have a coach, to have somebody in your life that really sees where you're going. Because I often find that one of the biggest struggles that people have is that new version of themselves. Like, how do I step out and share, whether it's going from corporate America to becoming a coach, or to share a new offering, to become a new version of myself? Like, there's just this fear around stepping outside of our comfort zone. So, what advice would you have there?
Yeah, I think we're really talking about that whole realm of visibility and shining. And it can definitely, for many people, I think what can come up is like, who am I to do this? I don't know if I really have what it takes. I haven't done this before. Like, what if people don't like it? I mean, these are like normal human fears. Like, I would just say this, expect some of this to come up. If it doesn't, you're probably not challenging yourself quite enough. So part of it is knowing, okay, I'm going to be up against some of these thoughts. And to remember, you have a thought, we have 70,000 plus a day. Most of those are throwaway thoughts. We could go into that another time. I mean, most are just coming from the negative bias and from programming thoughts that you've had that are based on fear to keep you safe, and that's okay. I think one of the best tools you can use, this is why, and it's something it's so simple, but when you start using curiosity and
Mm,
start using, Byron Katie, her whole work is around the work, which is around questions, right? Asking questions, but questions that are not going to be, why am I failing necessarily, but, why is this important to me? Why is this important to me and the world? How have I done something, scary before? When did it work out well? Like some of these big questions, or I do a lot of intuitive journaling, which is basically get yourself a journal or your phone, and you're going to ask yourself, you're going to pause, take a few deep breaths, and just ask your heart, ask yourself, why is this work important? Why do you want me to do this? Why is this going to make an impact? How might I step into something greater? Big questions, just big open-ended, and do not edit. Watch what happens. I'm telling you, this has been one of the secret tools I use that has guided me to everything. I'll write and I'm like, okay, I don't know where that's coming from. That is definitely not my ego. And ego's okay. We all have it. We don't want to like, I don't believe in like killing your ego. We just want to lovingly stroke it and be like, you're going to follow suit. You're going to follow my soul and my heart. You're going to just follow the directions that I'm giving you, right? I don't think we want to fight any part of ourselves. But that intuitive writing, that curiosity. And then I think another piece that goes more into the spiritual realm, for me at least, is a bit of both surrender,
Mm,
and really tuning into, I say a prayer, an invocation every day, which is just, source, higher power, universe, whatever you call it, please use me fully and make it clear what we have in mind here. And there's a bit of trust and faith in there. So, if you want to build your faith muscle, you want to build your muscle in trusting yourself, in learning how to expand your visibility and your capacity, then you're on the right path. If you're doing the entrepreneurial work or you're stepping into something greater, let me tell you something. You can't, if you're truly consciously going through that process, expect to come up around doubt. You want to lovingly be with it. You don't want to shove it down. And you want to start looking at that greater why and heart reason. Um, that's what helps me. I mean, I'm doing things now, I'm planning with a friend. There's a potential documentary I want to put together. I haven't done that before. This has just come, and I'm not really exactly sure how to do it. So I'm letting my intuition guide me. I'm stepping in bit by bit, I think small baby steps, and I'm looking to people that have done this before. And you
mm.
know what? Worst comes to worst, maybe it doesn't happen, or maybe it's not a huge success and the experience of it is like amazing, So just getting connected to, I think, again, the why, but being curious and bringing in something greater than yourself is so important.
Yes, there's so much there. There is so much there. I think asking really good questions and getting curious is such a helpful way of approaching it. And, sometimes, it's the big questions and then it's also the little questions like what is the worst that's going to happen for me stepping outside or doing this thing, And I think I just want to add to that I think a really big piece of that is letting go of what anybody else thinks of you because I feel like in most cases it is like that little voice of like, well, what is this person going to think or what is, and just really shedding that, letting that go. And it does get easier. I feel like anything that we do, whether it's starting a podcast or speaking on stages or writing or coaching or anything, it gets easier. And just reminding yourself, like if in the beginning of anything, it's challenging, it feels uncomfortable, it feels hard, but it gets easier and it gets fun. And so that's where the inspiration comes in is like, how can you really enjoy the journey, enjoy the process?
Yeah.
And I'd love to ask you about this because, oh my gosh, it's just been so much fun following your journey. I mean, you honestly have one of my absolute favorite podcasts, and you're such a great host, whether it's solo episodes or, I mean, you've interviewed some of the most incredible people in the world, Bruce Lipton, Greg Braden, Tara Brach. I mean, the list goes on and on. But I've seen your growth just exponentially, and I'd love for you to share just for listeners, if anybody has a podcast or they're thinking of starting one or whatever it is, like what advice would you have?
Yeah, yeah. And thank you so much, Emily. I appreciate that. And it's funny, I have a similar like appreciation for you and what you're doing. I'm like, oh, I feel the same. What it's really interesting is when I started this, again, it came from this deep desire to have conversations with people that were impacting my life and changing my life. And I just felt like I really feel like I really feel like this information needs to get out there. I feel like people need to hear this. You turn on the news, it's super depressing. Now maybe there's like one channel out there that's not, but most is. And I just felt like I've got to be sharing about human potentiality from as many different vantage points. And it's interesting. I started from this something, someone listening is like, I really have a desire to do something like this. I say, you got to follow that. You got to follow that. That desire has opened the doors to interviewing all of these incredible people. And I will say to you, one of the lessons I learned, and it was actually with Tara Brach that it happened. It was like this download or this experience. I realized, she's amazing. Let me say this. She's amazing. And everybody is human, right? So
Mhm.
I'm standing there with her, my standing desk, we're looking at each other, and she had shared something with me before. And I'm like, oh my God, this woman is so real and so authentic. And I just love her. Like my heart was just, and I feel as I love the people I interview, and I really try to find people that I'm moved by or touched or inspired, or just that I feel like, oh, this would be really beautiful information or conversation for others to hear and to learn from. And it was with her, I was like, wow, I felt like, we're just in different parts of our journey. There's no better or worse. And this is the truth with anybody. We're all here in different parts of our experience, like maybe even I don't know how many lives we've all done, but we're all here to do to make a contribution in our own ways. And I felt this human, like humanity connection with her. And it just took down any pedestal that had
Mhm.
been there. And I'll say that's been one of the biggest gifts, is that has kind of come down. It's like, I just want to be in that heart space with these human beings that I do feel, just have messages of hope and light and well-being and kindness and compassion and the values that I care about. And that desire that started at the beginning, that's what's carried me through. I didn't know how I was going to have some of the guests I've had on there. And the universe, literally, I mean, we don't have enough time to go through, but how many experiences where all of a sudden I'm like, at an event my friend invites me to. Tara Brach lives nearby, right? I'm at an event, and she's like, Julie, meet Tara. And I'm like, hi, I've been wanting to interview you. And she's like, great, let's do it. And this was not planned. This has happened over and over again. And I do think it's that deep desire, especially when we're coming from, I want to make an impact or difference. And, it's for me, but it's not also for me. It's for everybody. I certainly benefit from every conversation, but that desire, that interest to really make a bigger impact, I think, don't underestimate what the universe, what the infinite can do on your behalf. Do not. And I'm like just getting started with this, because I'll tell you what I see. I'm sure you have this too, Emily. The people I'm connecting with, that I'm like, oh, I really wanted to connect with him. Can't believe how this happened. And don't be surprised when you're that person, because we're all human beings that are here. When you step in and step up, I think the universe is going to use you. And that's, I think, part of the purpose of being here. And so getting that, we're all human. There's no one that's better or more worthy. I don't care the dollar signs attached to your name. I don't care the fame, the how many New York Times bestseller books. I mean, I think it's wonderful. And to me, it's like, great, that's impact. There's no difference in worthiness and in being loved and adored and cherished by something greater, by the universe. So that's
Mhm.
been a huge piece for me. That's helped me to just really invite whoever I want, and to really get that everybody, we all have messages that are important.
Yes, so beautifully said. I love that. And, I've heard you share also, a bit of advice that you got when you were first starting your podcast, which was like just commit to a goal of consistency. And you've now recorded over 300 episodes, which is incredible. And I feel like that is such good advice as well, because like anything that we do, it starts off slow and then it builds and your confidence builds and the excitement and the energy builds. And of course, there's ups and downs of that journey where, I mean, I don't know about you, but it's like, should I be doing this? Like,
Yeah,
universe, give me a sign, like,
right.
help a sister out, and then, but to continue, if it's something that lights you up and if it's something that feels in alignment, there's so much reward in that journey.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think this was one of the best pieces of advice I got. I just led a workshop, funny enough, yesterday on podcasting, and I was saying, and it's just what you said, you want to commit to something if you're going to start, because there are going to be, and this is really with anything, so many times it was like, okay, this is a lot of energy. It's a lot of time. This is not for the faint of heart. I'm going to just say that, like doing a podcast,
Yeah.
as you know, there's energy, there's time, there are resources, it's an investment. And I kind of was like, wow, I am like paying a lot for this. I'm also spending a lot of time, and
Mm.
I decided, I'm like, I look at it as my tithing. That's kind of how I saw it. I'm like, well, this is but there were a lot of times I'm like, wow, I don't know. I also don't even know, was that a good conversation? I doubted it. I doubted myself. And I remember coming back to the goal of, I said 1 year. I said 1 year. I said, I'm going to do at least 1 year, once a week. That's the goal. Then I can reevaluate. And you want to have some sort of goal that's going to work for you. But when those times are challenging, or when you doubt it, that you can come back to that, to that goal. And then it's easier to reverse engineer when you have that end in mind. I just said a year, and it's funny. Every year I reevaluate, and I'm like, okay, there was 1 year, Emily, I did two a week, and that was a lot. 2 episodes a week was just too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
And so I decided the next year, like, no way, I'm not doing that again. That was not good for me. So it's change. And I think just really, again, you come back to, why do you want to do this? What happens if you don't do this? That's a good question. Why
Yes.
is this important for you? And why is it important for those you're here to serve? And I always love the question, why is this important for the world? When I get to that question, that's usually the like, okay, I'm in, I'm doing it.
Give us an example of what that might look like.
Like the question, answering that question.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you get people that write in. I've had people write in that said that episode, helped me to leave an abusive marriage, helped me from wanting to take my life, helped me to go for it in changing careers, being a better parent. I mean, so thankfully, so many comments. That's the tangibles. I don't know the people that are not writing in. But to me, when I hear that conversation, that helped me in the pandemic. I've recently been getting a lot of responses like, these interviews, this interview with this person and this person, this really changed my mindset. Like, I was in a very dark place, and I'm like, oh my gosh, because look, there's this idea that, saving a life or changing a life is changing the world and saving the world. I really believe that. I was raised in that kind of concept.
Mhm.
And to me, you just really have no idea the magnitude of doing that. And so if we're all these candles, I'd rather have something that's going to light lots and lots of candles, because each candle can light other candles. It's just your ability to make an impact is way bigger. So for me, I mean, there's more impact I'd like to make. However, getting those notes and that feedback, I save them. I actually save them in a file, so that the moments when I'm like, why the heck am I doing this? And wow, this is a huge time investment. I look at them and I'm like, this is worth it. Even if this is my like give back time, great. Like, then this is it.
Yes.
Then that's that.
Yes, I love that you save them. I do as well. I think it's so valuable, and it's true. It's like you never know what your gifts, how they're going to impact other people. And I say this to people all the time, is like,
Yeah.
you never know how your story, how your unique magic is going to affect another being. And so I just love that sharing of how important it is to just follow our own excitement and to really trust the gifts that are coming through and to how it wants to express through you. So, and I know, gosh, you have shared so many different ways of asking powerful questions. And I feel like this is such a part of coaching that can be so helpful, is to really have somebody to really help you look at the deeper reasons why and your motivations and some of the things that, perhaps are beneath the surface. So I'd love for you to share with listeners. I know you coach high level, big hearted women who are, going after their dreams. Why do you think that coaching is so important? There's a lot of coaches that, tune into the show. What would you share from your perspective about the coaching journey?
Yeah, I mean, I will say, quite honestly, coaching saved and changed my life. About 15 years ago, I worked with a coach through a program I was doing, who, asked a lot of questions, but it was the one question he asked me that gave me clarity and gave me the confidence and the connection, and the desire, and the reality check that and a reframe I had never thought of before. And I was really, really tormented about, what do I do with two kids under the age of 2? Do I stay in a marriage that is fine, but really did not feel energetically aligned? Or I was not sleeping. It was a really tough time. And he said, Julie, if you knew your life was going to be absolutely extraordinary and amazing either way, what would you do? What would you choose? It sounds kind of like, oh, it's a great question. It's a brilliant question, because you're actually giving this, you're taking out the polarities, and you're giving these options that, like, let you get to design and choose your life the way you want it. And it was instant. My body, my mind, everything was like, oh, I'm not going to stay married to this person. I'm clear. It was so clear. It was real. And it was sad. And I had to deal with those feelings after. However, the clarity that came, and then he's like, great, go do that with kindness and compassion, and let's work through that together. And I feel like I was able to create this very, the most conscious uncoupling. And it's not a fun process. I'm not going to lie to you. That was not fun or easy, but I saw in that question. And then I ended up coaching. There was a program there I coached a few times, and I just saw, my gosh, this is miracle work. What is a miracle? Well, if you look at A Course in Miracles, a miracle is a shift in perspective. What are you doing in coaching? You're helping somebody. What did Phil do for me? He completely shifted my perspective to the point that the whole world changed, my lens changed. And so that's what got me back. I went to get my degree in it. I actually started coaching before leaving my job. And then I ended up getting recruited. I teach at Georgetown University in their coaching program. In the pandemic, woke up and heard, Julie, you need to create your own coaching program, because one of the things that I wasn't infusing in some of the other programs I taught through a university was the things I learned and certified in heart math and heart intelligence and the chakras and healing, and using your body, right, as a gauge. And so for me, what I've seen both in coaching many people and now having those come through this program, both who are coaches who want to refine skills or who want to become coaches, this work, and the reason it's exploding, Emily, and I believe for good reason. And I do believe having a training is important. I will just say that. But the reason it's exploding is because it works, because people get results. Because when you have someone that is trained to listen at a very deep level and to hear what your soul is saying, when you have someone that can hold the space while you are going through hell and beliefs that are nasty and not nice and not you, and stories that need to be changed, but that can hold that space and what you desire, like what Phil did with me. I mean, I wouldn't be here today. I don't even know if I'd be here today. I was that depressed in that dark of a space. So to me, being a coach is a healing path. You're learning, look, if you're really in this work, you're doing it yourself, and you're in the miracle business. I really see that. So, that curiosity, asking questions, listening. I think most people are starving from being not listened to, really listened to. When you're trained to do this and know how to hold space, and then have accountability woven in. I mean, it's brilliant. It is like probably my most favorite. I mean, I could do it and teach it all. That's why I'm obsessed about it. And I have someone at all times for me, because I don't dare do my life alone. I learned that in the 12-step world. You don't do life alone. So, having someone to hold that sacred space and see your best, your You-est You, and help you to achieve that to me, that is worth everything, and
Oh,
really what I think our world needs. It truly is. I think we all need them.
yes, yes, 1000% agree. And I can feel the passion and the love that you have for coaching. It just
Yeah.
pours through. And I love that so much. And I also love that you shared that it is valuable. Like, I think there's this, misconception that if you reach a certain level, you don't need a coach anymore. You've got it kind of all figured out. It's like, no, no, no. The greatest performers in the world have coaches, have a team of support. And so it's so important to ask for help and to be, willing to receive. So, Julie, I'd love if you could share with listeners where they can go to find out more about your coaching, your books, all the things.
They so passionate talking about it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm like perspiring. So that, see your body, my body's like, yeah, we're super passionate.
Yes.
Um, to learn more. Yeah. So thank you. And I would just say, if anyone's leaning in or feeling like, yep, I'd love to refine my skills, or to just really have that framework and learn how to also use your intuition and body wisdom, juliereisler.com. First of all, it's a good general place to go. If you add the little /certification, you can see all about the program. There is an application. I actually interview everybody. I don't just, there's an application piece. I want to make sure it's a good fit both ways. Very important. So I would say my website, juliereisler.com. And then I have a ton of free meditations and talks on Insight Timer, which is a lovely, one of my favorite apps. If you go to insighttimer.com/Julie Reisler, you'll see there's a lot of good free supportive things in there. Some of my favorite podcast episodes are there. And then of course, social media, but I would say, come find me, come chat, like set up a time to connect. I, even if it's not my program, like I can certainly, I teach at Georgetown. I know other programs, I certainly can help. I do believe in some sort of training. I think it's important. But there's many out there, and I'm grateful for you, Emily. You are adding incredible light to the world, and grateful to be here with you.
So grateful, Julie. This has been such an amazing question. Oh my gosh, conversation. And I was going to just say that I have so many more questions for you. So we'll have to have you back on sometime. This has been such a joy connecting with you. I'd love if you could share anything, last words of wisdom that you'd like to leave listeners with today.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like all morose here, but what really kind of keeps me in that heart space is we have a finite time in this body, in this life, on this planet. Please, 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 please honor your You-est You, your heart, what's going on in that soul calling. If you need support, I think it's the most courageous thing you can do, and it's a life changer. So to me, I guess the one thing I'd say is just learn to trust yourself, and to trust that greater intelligence that is living in you, with you, as you, and to follow that, because it's only once that you get to be expressed as this person. And I'd personally love to hear your story, your podcast, your whatever, because to me, it's another expression of the divine. So please don't miss the opportunity to express who you really came here to be.